Now, before I start, I would like to wish all the mothers here.
Happy Mother's Day.
How many mothers do we have here? Okay, Happy Mother's Day. Thank you for sacrificing your Mother's Day today and coming for this event. Before I begin, I should also say that foreigners are not allowed to participate in this demonstration. It's not a demonstration, but this is what the NParks regulation calls it. Foreigners are not supposed to participate. Only PRs can, but PRs cannot speak. So if you are a foreigner on work permit, on employment pass, F pass, student pass, you are not allowed to participate. And this is under the instruction of the police, whom I believe are here. Where's the police? Can raise your hand or not? You sure it's police?
Can you explain in Mandarin as well?
Explain in Mandarin. Okay, this gentleman has asked me to explain Mandarin. Unfortunately, my Chinese is not very good. So if I speak Mandarin, I feel like I'm in a 口试 Chinese oral examination.
Oh my God, what a shame, man.
Okay, 大家，如果你这个怎么说？这个聚会是只有新加坡人是可以参加的。如果你是外国人的话你只可以站在一个旁边看而已还有，如果你是一个永久居民的话你是可以参与这个聚会。Okay, before I start, I would like to introduce myself for those of you who don't know me. My name is Jolovan. I am a social worker by profession. I'm a social worker by training. For the most part of my career, I have been involved in looking into the well-being of low-wage migrant workers in Singapore. In Singapore, we have approximately 1 million migrant workers. So when I started out this work, there were very, very few NGOs who were involved in assisting migrant workers. So that was why I felt it was important to provide social support services for them. It was important that their dignity and their human rights are upheld. I often say to people, if all our 1 million migrant workers in Singapore go on strike, our entire economy collapses. This is how important they are. And this is also part of the reason I and some volunteers have decided to organize this event. Because we feel that migrant workers also contribute to this country. Your well-being, your struggles are also our struggles. In the work that I do, I have also met several Malaysian migrant workers who have come to me for assistance. These are women and men who work in our factories, who work as cleaners, who work as security guards, and who work as waiters, waitresses, and kitchen assistants. They are also the backbone of our economy. And I have heard stories of exploitation from them, where they are not paid their salaries, where they are not paid their work injury compensation claims, or when employers arbitrarily dismiss them, and they do not have any right of redress. The contributions of migrant workers to me are important. And that is why I am in solidarity with all our Malaysian friends here today in their struggle for free and fair elections in Malaysia. Tonight's program is actually quite straightforward. This is meant to be a small, intimate gathering. We have 2 speakers, including myself, lined up, and then I'll be reading some statements, and then we'll be singing a song, yeah, and then we'll be lighting candles, and we will be having fellowship and interacting with one another in this way. So there are no big speeches, no angry speeches, yeah, even though we have the right to be angry. Yeah. Yesterday when I read the news of the 23 Malaysians who have been arrested because they had organized a gathering and a demonstration, I was angry. I was angry because this was a violation of their basic fundamental freedoms, their basic civil rights. Regardless of your race, regardless of your religion, regardless of the social class in which you belong to, human rights are indivisible and inalienable. They apply to everyone. I know there are lots of debates, there are lots of concerns about the influx of immigrants into this country, and I can appreciate many of these concerns. When there are too many immigrants in this country and it compromises the welfare of everyone, then this is something which we have to look into and the government has to look into. So we need to have restrictions to the inflow of immigrants into this country and look at having better protection, better labor laws for all workers in this country. But we cannot say that when immigrants come in, we treat them as less equal. We give them fewer benefits and fewer privileges. And this also extends to the right of freedom of expression, freedom of assembly for migrants. Migrants and Singaporeans should have freedom of expression, freedom of speech, and freedom of assembly. This is a struggle that Singaporeans and migrants have to struggle on together. So when I heard the news of the 23 who were being arrested and the 9, I believe there are 9 who are also assisting in investigations, my heart went out to them. And this is why we Singaporeans are here today to be in solidarity with these women and men who took the courage, took the stand and said, this is what I want my country to be, and they had the courage to say it publicly, and they had the courage to gather publicly to express their views. Right now, I am going to read a statement written by 200 Malaysian social workers and counsellors. They have asked me to read this statement on their behalf to everyone here. This is the joint statement by 260 social service professionals entitled Reform Social Welfare System, Work Towards Healthy Two-Party Political System. We are a group of non-partisan Malaysia and Singapore-based Malaysian social workers, counsellors and mental health workers who envision a better Malaysia. We would like to share with all campaigning political parties and candidates our aspirations towards building and shaping a democratic Malaysia, and we seek your support. We strongly believe that social justice is indispensable to democracy. Under the principle of justice, each individual is bequeathed with equal opportunities in society, endowed with a fundamental social liberty of autonomy in speech and thought, and treated with basic human dignity that should be preserved in all social institutions under all circumstances. Our belief in equality, justice and fairness are grounded on the first article of the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights, 10th December 1948. All human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. They are endowed with reason and conscience and should act towards one another in a spirit of brotherhood. We dream of a Malaysia that upholds not only the principles of justice and fairness, but also the respect for fundamental human liberty and human dignity. As such, we hope that the all campaigning political parties and candidates could support our aspiration and urge the newly formed government to implement the following. First, the formulation of a complete, fair and accessible social support system so as to allow all practitioners and community partners to assist those in need more effectively and ensure that the mental health and well-being of the entire society is taken care of. 2. The formulation of a comprehensive and accessible judiciary system which allows vulnerable groups to gain access to legal and financial assistance. 3. The establishment of an independent police complaints and misconduct commission to prevent law enforcement officers from abusing the law and to safeguard the safety of the people and society. A clean, fair and transparent electoral process. 5th, the respect and protection of individual rights to religious freedom and freedom of speech, and to put an end to inequality between ethnic groups. 6. A safe and non-discriminatory living environment for all members of society and our future generations. A healthy two-party political system that keeps corruption, non-transparency and cronyism in check. The promotion of public education in psychological well-being and to raise public awareness about mental health issues and channels to seek professional help. 9. An inclusive society that looks into the welfare and well-being of marginalized population groups, example migrant workers, indigenous peoples, ex-prisoners, orphans, single parents, victims of family violence, citizens living below the poverty line, people with mental illnesses and disabilities, to ensure that they too can be given equal opportunities and the chance to thrive and become productive members of our society. The statement ends off with a quote from John Stuart Mill: "Justice is a name for certain moral requirements, which, regarded collectively, stand higher in the scale of social utility and are therefore of more paramount obligation than any others." Thank you. This is the joint statement by 200 social service professionals who are Malaysian and they are based in Singapore. Thank you. Okay, right now I'm going to invite the other speaker. His name is Alfian Sa'at. He's a well-known local poet and playwright in Singapore, and he's going to share a few words in solidarity with our Malaysian friends and cousins.
Hello. Hi. First of all, thank you for gathering. I think this is such a wonderful demonstration of the solidarity and courage of Malaysian people who definitely care about their country, strong enough to come out here on a Sunday evening. So I think all of you deserve to give yourselves a hand. Secondly, actually I don't think I should be the one being here. I do think Malaysians should be the one speaking and addressing the crowd tonight. But I think that's because of our laws, Jolovan. So on behalf of my government, I'd like to apologize for these very repressive laws regarding freedom of assembly in Singapore. There's a lot of online chatter where basically people are saying, if you're foreigners and if you come to Singapore, you should obey the norms of the country. Personally, I think this government's norms are not my own norms, and these norms are also not in line with international norms. So I do think that, if there's anything to take away from that episode where Malaysians were warned or even arrested by the police, I think as a Singaporean it's given me an insight into how weird actually the laws of this country are.
That's right.
And I would like to thank those Malaysians for exposing this and showing me that light. You know, that you know, this is atypical. We are a supposed personal nation, but our standards, our laws, whatever, are not in line with international practices. So I apologize on behalf of my government. Those are not the norms of a lot of Singaporeans. I know.
I thought you are Malaysian.
No, I'm Singaporean. I wouldn't be here if I'm Malaysian. I cannot.
I saw your Facebook, you say you are Malaysian, going back to Malaysia.
I'll show you my IC later.
Then you are going back there, isn't it?
I go there to visit my friends.
No, you're going there for good. I think I saw your video.
No lah, I'm Singaporean really.
Right, okay.
I will show you my...
I know your stand, your political stand.
Yeah, okay. Anyway.
You are very much...
Stop interrupting.
Yeah. No, I think it's unknown. His stand is very unknown.
Okay, so what was I saying? Okay. So I apologize for those norms. I was gonna read something actually, but I seem to have lost it. So maybe hang on. Okay, Jolovan again. Let me look for this speech and then I'll come back. Sorry, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to read, this is a very important declaration. It's one of the reasons why we are here in solidarity. This is the Declaration on Criteria for Free and Fair Elections, which was unanimously adopted by the Inter-Parliamentary Council at its 154th session in Paris on 26 March 1994. So this is a declaration that both the Malaysian and the Singapore government has acknowledged. It's a very long declaration, but I've just selected extracts to read from. Everyone has the right to take part in the government of their country and shall have an equal opportunity to become a candidate for election. Everyone individually and together with others have the right to express political opinions without interference, to seek, receive and impart information and to make an informed choice, to move freely within the country in order to campaign for election, to campaign on an equal basis with other political parties, including the party forming the existing government. Every candidate for election and every political party shall have an equal opportunity of access to the media, particularly the mass communications media, in order to put forward their political views. Every individual and every political party has the right to the protection of the law and to a remedy for violation of political and electoral rights. Every individual or political party whose candidature, party or campaign rights are denied or restricted shall be entitled to appeal to a jurisdiction competent to review such decisions and to correct errors promptly and effectively. Every candidate and political party competing in an election shall respect the rights and freedoms of others. Every candidate and political party competing in an election shall accept the outcome of a free and fair election.
Yes.
The rights and responsibility of states. The state should ensure the separation of party and state and establish the conditions for competition in legislative elections on an equitable basis. They should initiate or facilitate national programs of civic education to ensure that the population are familiar with election procedures and issues. Ensure that those responsible for the various aspects of the election are trained to act impartially and that coherent voting procedures are established and made known to the voting public. Ensure the integrity of the ballot through appropriate measures to prevent multiple voting or voting by those not entitled thereto. Ensure the integrity of the process for counting votes. That the necessary steps are taken to guarantee non-partisan coverage in state and public service media. Now we know what the situation of this here is in Singapore and Malaysia. Furthermore, state authorities should ensure that the ballot is conducted so as to avoid fraud or other illegal legality, that the security and integrity of the process is maintained, and that ballot counting is undertaken by trained personnel subject to monitoring and impartial verification. States should take all necessary and appropriate measures to ensure the transparency of the entire electoral process, including, for example, through the presence of party agents and duly accredited observers. States should take the necessary measures to ensure that parties, candidates and supporters enjoy equal security, and that state authorities take the necessary steps to prevent electoral violence. States should ensure that violations of human rights and complaints relating to the electoral process are determined promptly within the time frame of the electoral process and effectively by independent and impartial authorities, such as an electoral commission or the courts. Thank you.
So sorry, I actually pressed the delete button and it went to my trash, so I found this speech. It's not actually a speech, it's an excerpt from a play, so I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story. This play is called Para, and it's opening in Kuala Lumpur on 16th this month, 16th of May. And it's a play that addresses racial relations actually in Malaysia. And actually, okay. It's a play that addresses racial relations, racial politics actually in Malaysia. And the thing was that in the aftermath of the elections, I was very uncomfortable by certain statements being made about, say, Chinese tsunami, for example, and I think it did raise the temperature quite a bit, and I know that myself included and a lot of my friends were upset by this racializing of the election results. So there's this monologue from this play that I'd just like to share with you. I'm not an actor, I'm a writer, so I shall just try to do this the best that I can at this point. So this is a monologue by a student, 17-year-old student whose name is Kaho. He's a Chinese Malaysian student, and he tells the audience his story. Okay, I'm going to read it first in DM, which is the language that's used inside the play, and then I'll read an English translation. So this is Kaho's words. Waktu I 12 tahun, family kita pergi holiday. Kita pergi ke Guangdong. Katanya bapa I ada saudara mara kat situ. Mak I sibuk beli baju tebal untuk kita. Katanya waktu tu musim sejuk. I tak pernah belajar Mandarin. Yang I tahu Cantonese. Tapi itu pun sikit-sikit aja. Orang Guangdong cakap bahasa Cantonese dengan Mandarin. I punya abang-abang semua dari sekolah Cina. Jadi diorang tak ada masalah berbual dengan orang kat situ. Waktu tu musim sejuk, tapi taklah sejuk sangat sampai ada salji. Cuma kalau you cakap, mulut you keluar wap. Mak I komplain, telinga dia rasa sakit pasal sejuk sangat. Abang I yang satu tu pula, tangan dia yang senang sejuk. Mati-mati dia kata kuku dia sudah jadi biru. Tapi tak ada yang tanya I, Kaho, mana tempat badan you yang sejuk? Kalau diorang tanya sama I, mesti I jawab, mulut I yang sejuk. Lidah I yang beku. I sudah jadi orang bisu. I tak faham orang yang suka cakap, kalau you tak suka tinggal kat Malaysia, you boleh balik negara China. Pasal yang I tahu, bila I dengan family dekat Guangdong, I cuma nak balik Malaysia. Bila kita keluar dari KLIA, I dapat rasa cuaca sudah bahang. Badan kita semua dah melekit. Bila kita kat stesen kereta api, I kata pada bapa I, Pa, I nak beli tiket. I pergi ke kaunter, lepas tu I tanya pada perempuan yang duduk kat belakang kaca, Kak, saya nak tiket untuk 6 orang. Berapa? I dapat rasa peluh I kat bawah ketiak, kat belakang badan, kat dalam rambut. I tahu I ada misai bintik-bintik peluh. I cuba jilat sikit, rasa masin. Tapi I gembira. I rasa gembira pasal lidah I dah boleh bergerak. Now I shall do it in English.